Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our session. I would like to welcome all of
Okay. Hello, bon tarde. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olu Ajayi, and I'm the Global Lead for Food Security and Rural Wellbeing in GCA. It is my pleasure to set the scene on this very important topic on scaling up adaptation and resilience innovations through strategic partnership using the AAAP model as a case study. I will just run through quickly what is AAAP, what is AAAP. Then I'll talk about the partnership, how we have forged partnership with the IFI, international financing institutions, the ones who have the money. Then I talk about how we forged partnership with the CGIAR. These are the ones who actually have the technologies. And then I talk about how we bring all this together. And then I will share some quick results before we go into the next topic. Just kind of setting the scene, and we know we are familiar with that there's insufficient funding for adaptation. Somebody who actually described adaptation as a poor cousin of mitigation in terms when it comes to total global funding. An estimate shows that in Africa alone, there is a financing gap of about 40 billion on adaptation, and that adaptation is still seen as a public sector responsibility. But then we can keep talking about the problems and challenges right from now till tomorrow, but it will not change anything. The question is, how do we move from the problem and to go into solutions? African head of states. African head of states came together in 2021 with development partners to form, to create this African Adaptation Accelerated Program, which I will henceforth call the AAAP. It's a global support, it's an African-owned and African-led program to accelerate the adaptation in Africa. So this head of state and in their wisdom identifying, they said there are so many sectors we could work upon, but they are focusing on four and give GCA the mandate and the partners the mandate to move forward with it. The first one is on food security. As we all know, food is very critical, it's very crucial in, in development in Africa. Talking about the infrastructure sector, innovative financing, and the youth. So those are the four sectors. Of course, they are related. What's the business model? The model of AAAP is built on focusing on solutions. Like I said, just looking at the key solutions to identify workable solutions, adaptation measures, and to scale them up in African countries throughout Africa. Second thing is we look at who are the strategic levers of the funding that shape the development trajectory in Africa. Many of them, these are the IFIs, international financing institutions. We're talking of the World Bank of this world, the African Development Bank of this world, the Islamic Development Bank of this world, and IFAD, and of course also the private sector, commercial banking, because they are the largest financiers of climate change projects. So the idea is to see how do we maximize adaptation interventions in their investment projects. The third thing is that getting these things done has to be based on sound knowledge, research, and knowledge products, so that we can make informed decisions on how to scale up and accelerate adaptation projects. And finally, this work, the model is that this thing is going to work using through partners and partnership. And that's what we want to talk about today. Now, let me start with the first partnership with IFIs, the MDBs, multilateral development institutions. Through AAAP facility that we have, GCA and partners like all this CGIAR and others, we are supporting the mainstream of adaptation components into the design and implementation of investment projects. And of course, private one. And I'm talking of the AfDB, World Bank, IFAD, Islamic Development Bank, and the bilateral one like AfD. Basically, what we do is through the partnership, we identify, we embed ourselves with the various financial institutions to identify, to look at their pipeline, and we pick out some few projects. We have different criteria for identifying which projects we are going to work on. Then we engage with the operations teams of these various banks to identify what are the climate adaptation gaps or technical needs to be able to ensure that these projects' investment are climate proofed. Having done that, we agree on them, and then GCA comes in internally to now look at, to propose specific studies and technical assistance that can be used, that can be carried out to support this, the implementation to fill the gaps. Of course, we share that also with operation teams of the IFI, and then we do some iteration back and forth to just say, okay, yes, because it's based on needs, on the needs of the partners. So at least we all come to a common agreement. These are the studies, are the information that is required, and this is how it can be done. So after that, then GCA goes into, and the partner goes into the implementation. Of course, we're always part of the project preparation and appraisal missions. In fact, just today, I've just returned from Guinea on one of the projects, the World Bank project in Guinea-Conakry. So I'm just coming. So we do that. We are part of the project preparation and project appraiser. And of course, we also participate in monitoring. Apart from the IFIs, we work directly also with to scale up domestic financing. We are working with AfDB. We are working with TAAT, Tanzania Agri Development Bank, and others to support the financial systems. Now, having partnership with the IFI, the one who has the money, is good, but then what of the ones who have the innovations? So in the agri sector, the one I lead, we also forged another partnership with the CGIAR and TAAT. Why? Because we know several CGIAR innovations have developed fantastic and great innovations and adaptation solutions that could potentially strengthen climate resilient food systems. I used to work in the CGIAR myself, and I worked before I joined the developing sector fully. I work in 3 of them, and I know they're doing great job, excellent job that the CGIAR scientists are doing. But the challenge has been that the investment projects like this banking thing, they don't get optimal influence from these CGIAR technologies. These technologies are there, but it's not the investors, the investment banks are not connecting very well to be able to kind of uptake them. And so the question is, how do we bridge the gap between the science of discovery and the science of delivery of adaptation, of climate adaptation? The partnership we formed with CGIAR and TAAT is actually to facilitate this sort of transmission belt to be able to accelerate the uptake of CGIAR adaptation innovations by mainstreaming them into the design of investment projects by the government, by IFI, and by the private sector. How do we do that? So bringing all this together, the operation model of bringing all these things, talking about the connection, the partnership we have with the IFIs, the MDBs on one hand, the partnership with the people who knows and has generated these technologies. But then the key one is, who are the people who owns the project that we're talking about, the investors, the one who got the loans. These are the state governments, these are the national governments, these are the of various African countries. First is we ask ourselves, what is the adaptation gap? What is missing? What is required to do the climate proofing of this investment project that is being planned? So we review the original design of the project, we look at the gap, and then we ask ourselves, how can GCA partners, including the CG, work together to fill this gap, to climate proof the investment? That's the first thing. Having done this, we go ahead to make informed decision. So it's not just guessing. We go to the granularity to check a kind of risk assessment. We carry out specialized technical services on adaptation. For example, look at what is the extent of climate risk? How do we quantify it? To what extent are there the vulnerability in the project site? Which particular value chain is affected? The way climate change affects cassava is different from the way it affects maize. Maize is much more sensitive to climate than others. How does it affect, how will climate change affect the different typologies of farmers in the proposed project? Having got this information, so we arm ourselves with this information, with studies and technical assistance. Now, the question, we now check with the CGIAR. Which of the CGIAR centers has solutions that can potentially address the risk and the challenges that have been identified in step 2. And then we check with them, what are the inventory of adaptation solutions that they have in the armory? And the next thing is to match these adaptation solutions to the problems and the challenges have been identified. So it's like we try to match the solutions, potential solutions, with the problem so that we can fill that gap. Now, the very important thing we do now is to facilitate engagement. How do we engage? We have done work with RFI and the CG, but then it has to come together at the center. And the key one is we facilitate that engagement. Like I said, GCA, we pride ourselves as a solutions broker. We try to match solutions and with the challenges that are existing. So it's between the client, the project owner, these are the governments, these are the clients, this is the program implementation unit. With the RFI, the one who has the money, with CGIAR that has the innovations. And the idea of bringing them together all in different sessions at different times in an iterative form is to be able to, so that we can ensure that all of these things are co-prioritized. They can all co-prioritize the most appropriate solutions that should be integrated in each investment project. Of course, this varies from one project to another, depending upon the objective. So we have had sessions where, for example, the CGI comes in and say, well, they showcase the suite of potential solutions that they have, that they think or they feel could address these challenges. And we have seen cases where the government says, no, thank you for this. Out of these 4 solutions you are proposed, number 1 and number 2, we don't think we want to pick them up because of X, Y, Z, or because we have got experience with this one. But we like number 3 and number 4. So these are the 3, and these 2 are the ones we want to run with. There are some that will say yes, but what don't you have another solution or potential solution that can address this issue? So they suggest number 5, which have been absent in the CGIAR presentation. So this kind of co-developing, co-identifying, and co-prioritizing solutions that they feel they own, and these are the ones that the RFI will be investing in, and this is the one the project implementation unit will be running with in running the project. So at least by the time the project is fully gone to the board and is being implemented, use of climate adaptation and finance are going there, because in many cases the adaptation indicators are included in the results framework of the project, and which also means some resources are allocated to it. In the first 4 years, I go to result now, and then I'll be ending with this. In the first 4 years of this, since 2020, effective early 2022, GCA and partners, CGIAR and others have successfully mainstreamed climate adaptation solutions to close to about 100 projects with a total value of $19 billion, which have been, all these projects are projects, some of these ones have been approved by the board. Within the agri sector, that's overall for GCA, but within the agricultural sector, agri-food sector, we have gotten at about 28 projects that has worth 5.7 billion that have in the agri sector that have been approved by the various boards of the bank. And these are from 4 institutions, from AfDB, World Bank, IFAD, and Islamic Development Bank. Of course, there are several other projects which are under preparation for the board. We expect them to go to the board by the end of in December. A number of them will go to the board in December, and the quarter one of 2026. Thank you very much. I stop here, and if there's any questions. Thank you.
And can you hear me now?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but there's an echo.
We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Hello, we can't hear you.
CGIAR invests in research innovation in pathways that have the potential of transforming food system to become climate resilient. Dr. Solomon, now the question that I have for you is, we have just heard that the CGIAR works in partnership to scale up adaptation innovation. How important is that partnership to you, especially the use of the AAAP model to help scale this science-proven technologies and innovations that are fundamental for building resilience in agriculture and food in Africa. Dr. Solomon, you have the floor.
Thank you very much for having me. My name is Solomon Gizau. I'm head of the TAAT Clearinghouse based in Cotonou. Let me start. What is Technology for African Agricultural Transformation? Is a key flagship program of the African Development Bank of its Feed Africa strategy. It is a major continent-wide initiative designed to boost agricultural productivity by delivering proven agricultural technologies to millions of farmers. In fact, TAAT is aiming at doubling crop, livestock, and fish technologies by expanding access to productivity-enhancing technologies to 40 million of farmers. And how is the TAAT operating? TAAT is a consortium of 14 CGIAR centers and advanced research institutions operating in Africa. And from this consortium, CG experts are working with the national programs, mainly with the Ministry of Agriculture Extension units, with the National Agriculture Research Organizations, and with the private sectors and seed companies to deliver these productivity-enhancing technologies by leveraging large-scale investment, primarily financed by IFIs, to achieve impact at scale. And in the face of the current ever-worsening climate change, TAAT is promoting proven and climate-resilient evidence-based technologies, such as heat-tolerant varieties, such as drought-tolerant varieties, pest and disease-resistant varieties, and water-efficient technologies that are widely adaptable to drought and heat-prone agroecologies of Africa. TAAT is also promoting these technologies through the CGIAR TAAT e-catalog, specifically tailored for public and private sector to accelerate their widespread adoption. Coming to the strategic partnership, the strategic partnership with GCA, Africa Development Bank, and CGIAR TAAT has proven to be very impactful in driving the integration and scaling of proven agricultural technologies into large-scale investment projects primarily financed by the African Development Bank and Islamic Development Bank. Africa Development Bank alone is annually investing billions of dollars to modernize the agricultural sector in Africa. And through this strategic partnership, the CGIAR experts are participating in the project design mission and engage government decision makers to convince them to integrate these climate resilient technologies into large-scale investment projects. And they also provide technical assistance during the implementation phase of the project to catalyze the scaling by providing capacity building to the extension agents, to the NARS and private sector and seed companies in particular. And in this intervention, the GCA is also playing a very major role, especially in bringing the adaptation aspect of the project by conducting risk analysis, especially climate risk analysis, and as well as vulnerability analysis. And this makes the project to be more sustainable and impactful. Overall, over the past 3 years, TAAT has been working with Africa Development Bank and GCA, and we have managed to integrate CGIAR innovations into 25 large-scale investment projects and influenced worth of $3 million that are implemented in 34 African countries. And in a nutshell, such partnership is bringing technology, is bringing large-scale investment, and is bringing partnership as a way to achieve transformative impact at scale. Thank you very much.
Full.
Full.
I would
I would
like to pass the floor to Honorable Elder Boldawe, Agriculture and Food Security. What I would like to hear from you is, through the AAAP partnership program, the Iki state has benefited from technical support to strengthening adaptation in the designing of the special agri-processing zone project in Nigeria. So my question for you is, would you share your experience and lesson learned in implementing this project? Honorable, you have the floor.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for listening. And let me thank CGIAR, the International Institute of Tropical Africa, Agriculture, IT, and Technology for Africa, for this opportunity to share our experience on the Special Agricultural Processing Zone. The Special Agricultural Industrial Processing Zone is a strategic initiative aimed at promoting industrialization and the economic growth, especially in the agricultural value chain. The key objectives are number one, to promote agricultural industrialization through the creation of enabling environment for agribusiness to thrive. In Ekiti, we believe that the fastest route to industrialization is through agriculture, because we can't continue to produce raw materials and without adding value into it. So the SAPC comes in at something that will change the whole value chain for us. Number two, to improve the food security, enhance local production and the processing of our staple foods. And number three, to create jobs, generate employment opportunities for local, especially for local communities within the agri zones. Then increase economic growth, especially contributing to the state economic development and the gross domestic product. Under the SAPZ, we have two sections. We have agricultural industrial hubs, which is located in another part of the state, where we have all the agri processors to be in the same environment. Then we have agricultural transformation centers in two areas in Ekiti. One in Ekporo, which is actually the southern part of the state, where they have availability to do tree crops and other root and tuber crops. And also on farm settlement, where is more on the savanna side of the value of the state for producing staple crops. Early this year, we have a conversation with CGIAR for them to come into the actual the SAPZ transactions. And since then, there are a lot of activity that has happened. They have done what we call climate risk assessment of the area. They have visited the two sites, the three sites in the northern part of the state and the southern part of the state, to take the soil samples and to do what we call scoping mission to the site. Then they have opportunity to also to engage the farmers to ensure they understand their vulnerabilities to the climate change. Climate change is the biggest elephant in the rooms today. Everywhere within the state and all over the world, we are seeing the impact of the food production. And with their technologies, we believe will become usable to provide climate smart agricultural practices for our farmers. Also for us within the state as a public sector, we believe this is one of the areas for us to also partner with technology innovators to also ensure that we pass the information to our farmers. In Africa, majority of the farmers are small scale, smallholders, doing less than 5 hectares of land. But with the coming up of SAPC, which is actually located in the special processing zones and the farm settlement, where we have contiguous land, where farmers can be clustered together. So the information and sensitization, mobilization on the smart agricultural practices can easily be passed to farmers that are within the ecosystem. Part of the things we are doing, as I said earlier, is to cluster these farmers together and ensure that we give them best actual practices. And also we believe that adaptation and of innovations have to do with a lot of incentives. And part of the incentives we do in Ekiti State is to ensure we do the heavy lifting for our farmers. And what we have started to do this year under the actual processing zone is to do what we call land clearing in a massive form, and also to cluster the farmers into those space. And as I'm talking to you, we have more than 5,004 youths that are being engaged and are coming on board to actually do food production within the actual processing zone. And within that area also, there are a lot of innovation that's already going up now. We provide climate resilient crop and seed and seedlings to them. Also, as I'm talking to you, we are installing solar power modular irrigation system that will ensure that have access to water 24/7. So these are the things we are doing within the actual processing zone. And we believe with the technology that AAAP has practiced for years, we can get it across our farmers, and they can easily adopt it and can be help them in adaptability. As I said, the biggest elephant in the room today all over the world is climate change, and it's affecting food production. It's making the world to skip off the zero hunger that we're all pushing towards. So thank you so much for having me. I will stay up if there are other questions that we need to ask as we partner with TAAT and CGI in the implementation of special agricultural processes. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Thank you very much for sharing from an experience on the ground. And now to the person that is sitting next to me and is suffering the heat in Belém alongside. So we now have Mark Muller, who is the Chief Investment Officer of Sustainability and Global Head of Chief Investment with the Deutsche Bank. What I would like to ask you, Mark, is how have the private banking and institutions such as Deutsche Bank contributed for climate adaptation financing, especially in partnership described and especially in the agri sector? What are the primary thoughts on partnership? And do you see any potential area of synergy with the AAAP and with what you do within the Deutsche Banks? Back to you, Mark.
So thank you very much. And let me use some examples of what we are doing. On the one side, we have partnered with Ocean Risk Within Action Alliance, exactly in order to answer such questions, but in the ocean context. So partnerships are important to increase the knowledge in financial institutions of the subject. If we would not have known what the ocean is through Aura, we would not have been able to support the transformation of the blue economy towards more sustainability. And this is just one example, because we have the same needs also in other sectors like the agriculture sector. So what we have done as another example is a 500 million debt for impact swap with the country of Benin. And the money is used for the development goals of the country. And if countries are starting to incorporate their needs also out of the agriculture sector in their frameworks, then such financing structures can be used for channeling the money exactly in this direction. But for this purpose, the country needs to develop a clear goal of what areas they want to develop, so that the global financial market can really go into it. And we've done this in this example with Aditi, and we also use guarantee structures. So the financial market structures are really there in order to support this. A third example is what we just have done with Honduras and Suriname. A couple of days ago, we signed a letter of intent in order to deliver together a set of high integrity carbon credits to finance the people on the ground to keep our global commons in check. So really to finance their daily life so that they preserve the rainforest, which is an important part of our global ecosystem. So you see 3 examples from partnership, knowledge, over to using global and local financial institutions based on clear developed frameworks to channel money, and on the other side, using modern frameworks like the one under UNFCCC to channel money in the direction and to connect the North with the South through this construction, which we call all ITMOs. So 3 very concrete examples, which we can replicate and talk more further about.
Thank you very much. I think it's important to hear, especially from private banks as well, because for the past 2-3 COPs, there's been a constant call of how do we engage private sector. And one of the challenge is making sure that private sector understands the context of climate change and how that impacts business. And beyond that, it also is about responsibility. So it's a good thing that we have banks here to then understand what it means and how they can integrate that in their modalities.
Maybe one topic to this. So we also know the World Bank outcome bond schema. So this is also something what we as private banks do like with MDBs and DFIs, be it through local guarantee structures, be it through such kind of outcome bond structures, which constantly can channel money into the areas where the money is needed. Information is key and clarity is key from both directions.
So that's very important. And add to that, currently in Africa, there is less than 5% of private finance investment on adaptation. And that is something to look at, I believe. Before I conclude, I would make sure we have a moment for question and answer. But before I want to conclude, I want to give each of our panelists one chance to describe what would summarize your takeaway from this session. So I will start with Olu. Olu, do we have you?
Yeah. Thank you very. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Yeah. My summary, my takeaway is that yes, we need to move as we talk about the challenges of climate change. Let's also quickly see how we can ramp up on the solutions. There are solutions out there, but we need partnership to take these things along. Not just one side. We need the public policy. We need private financing. We need the people who owns the technology or who knows the technology, who can advise on it, and also we need the people the money back. So it's a strong partnership to get this going. We need strong partnership. Thank you.
Very much. Dr. Solomon, what about you? What is it that you think is needed?
Very good. Thank you very much. As I conclude, allow me to give one specific example that such kind of partnership is leading to a transformative impact. You know, the adoption of heat-tolerant wheat varieties. For example, in Ethiopia, wheat used to grow mainly in the highland rain-fed agroecologies of the country. But thanks to the heat-tolerant wheat varieties developed by CGIAR, the wheat has now been grown in the lowland heat-stressed agroecologies of Ethiopia. And these heat-tolerant varieties are performing in a very satisfactory manner for the farmers, giving the yield on average to 4 tons per hectare. As a result, with the right policy of the government, the wheat in the past 3 to 4 years has been expanded, covering hundreds of thousands of hectares. And now Ethiopia is reducing dependency of wheat import and declaring self-sufficiency. The same heat-tolerant varieties in Zimbabwe over the last 4 years, with such a partnership between AfDB, CGIAR, TAAT, GCA, Zimbabwe has expanded heat-tolerant varieties and achieved wheat self-sufficiency. And the last, which I just want to mention, in Nigeria, linking CGIAR innovation with large-scale investment over the last 2 years, with the investment coming from Africa Development Bank, Nigeria was able to expand wheat from 70,000 hectares to 250,000 hectares. And they are planning next year to reach to 500,000 hectares, linking with large-scale investment. So, in a nutshell, as a take-home message, I just want to pass. It is possible to achieve transformative impact in Africa, provided that, 1, technology matters. If you have the right technology, game-changing technology, it is proven that, and it's possible, our farmers can double and triple their productivity. Second, policy and regulatory matters. With the right policy that creates enabling environment for the private sector to expand agricultural production and productivity in the country, and with the right regulatory system that ensures sustainable seed system, Africa can be able to change the scenario of narratives of achieving food self-sufficiency. The third is partnership matters. As I said, and in this side event, a partnership is the right way because no single nation can achieve alone. So with this partnership, with the national partners, regional partners, international partners working together, we can achieve impact at scale. And the fourth is scale matters. That is also very important. If we want to reach millions of farmers with the right proven innovation, leveraging large-scale investment can give a solution to reach millions of farmers in a short period of time. And therefore, with this partnership, Africa has the potential and has the capacity to double and triple its productivity, and Africa can feed Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Solomon. So far, I've heard partnership, transformative action, and impact at a scale. I would now want to give the floor back to Honorable Ebenezer. Honorable, in your view, what is the one thing we need from, what is the one thing as a lesson learned from this session?
Thank you so much. I see partnership, as we have echoed it, as one of the best way out of this lockdown. In Ekiti State, we pride ourselves as one of the subnationals that loves to partner. Early this year, we signed an agreement with the Nigeria Meteorological Agency so that they can be able to provide data on rainfall pattern and every other things that have to do with climatological issues within the states. And the reason is just simple, because we don't have access to this information. I want our farmers to take an informed decision when they are going to plantations and want to do a crop production. So we are ready, like yesterday. Agric is art and science. So we are ready, we are open-minded, we are progressive to ensure that we get the right technology from CGIAR, from IITA. When, for example, when they reach out to us, immediately we put all the machinery in motion to support them. And when they came for the scoping mission and the subsequent meeting, that they can see that it is ready for business. So we believe with right technology, we can be able to scale all the innovations that have developed and also that can help our farmers. As of today, the literacy level in Ekiti State is about 98 to 99%. So the issue of adoption will not be a problem, and also to sensitize our farmers through the use of extension services will be of a great deal. So in nutshell, we are ready like yesterday to get all the necessary input from CGIAR, IITA, and also to send it, pass it across in the language the farmers to understand, for them to adopt and to adapt into all the technology that have been developed so far. So yeah, like yesterday, we are ready to partner and to collaborate.
Thank you very much, Honorable. You did stress on the main point, which is the need for partnership. Now, Mark, what is your key takeaway from this?
My key takeaway is active partnership. So it's not just enough that you partner, you have to be active in it. And a derivative out of this active partnership is everyone is asking for finance. If you don't get finance at the very beginning of your process on board, it will be difficult. Get them into the room as soon as possible and develop with them the financing solution for your needs actively. And then I think the consecutive steps will be easier.
That is indeed very important, because quite sometimes was only ministries of environment that have been talking about climate change, but we see a good change that now we have banks and then we have ministers of finance attending these discussions. So to wrap up, what I've heard is partnership, transformative impact, technology, scale, again, partnership, and active partnership plus finance. I'm afraid we might not have a moment for any questions, but I'm happy to share the contact details of our panelists. And Mark, right next to me, is willing to stay a few extra minutes around, and you can ask him some questions. Thank you very much.